It's Jerry McKee. Welcome to prime time. You're going to hear a fellow behind me there that's in the background singing and playing, and we're going to meet him in a minute. Freddie Vanderford. Got all kinds of wonderful things going to be going on, and we just hope and glad that you're with us. And we're going to come back with you in just a moment and talk to Freddie. Let me go to commercial here right now. We'll be right back.
Pat Quinn's passion for radio goes back to when he was 6 years old and had his first field trip to the radio station. It was Christmas time. Mr. Osborne at WBCU went around the room asking each child what they wanted for Christmas and what they wanted to do when they grew up. I told him, I think I want a football. And when I grow up, I want to come back here and work for you at this radio station. It happened around the age of 13. Pat Quinn started hanging out at the station, and by the time he was 14, he was becoming a board operator. It's been a fun journey, and I owe it all to that radio station giving me my start as a kid, WBCU. Pat Quinn had worked in radio stations all over the Southeast. It seemed from being an old air personality to becoming a general manager, even owned his own internet station. Pat Quinn now has a set of 4 syndicated shows that air over 100 stations and heard in over 186 countries. Happy 50th anniversary in radio, Pat Quinn.
I love beach music 'cause I...
All right, the guy you looking at right now is, let me do a few little clicks here just to make sure we're not echoing. You're looking at Freddie Vanderford. How you doing, Freddie?
Pretty good. How you doing, Jerry? Good to see you.
Nice seeing you again like it. I tell you what, you are a busy, busy guy. And I'll tell you what, folks, if you want to see how busy he is, all you got to do is Google Freddie Vanderford, and he will show up all over the internet. and if you see all kind of pictures of him also in all different venues and things. And Freddie, let me ask you this right here. When you was little, and I heard a story from my brother-in-law about this too, but when you was little, what got you inspired in music? I mean, you really got inspired when you was a real young child.
I did. Well, you know, I'm second generation. My dad sang in a quartet, you know, your wife's uncle. My dad, he sang in a quartet, and we were all singing and stuff like that as little kids. And my grandfather on my mom's side, he played harmonica, and I used to go get it out of the top drawer next to the pistol. And I didn't touch the pistol. When I got the harmonica out, he'd be sitting in the swing, maybe smoking a cigarette or whatever. I'd go out there and take the harmonica to him and ask him to play for me. I'm just a little kid now, and he'd do it. But he played these mountain songs and stuff like that, which I enjoy to this day. And, you know, I was messing around with it and stuff like that, but I wasn't serious. I was a guitar player. I started playing shows when I was 9 years old, playing guitar and singing.
Now, you remember your first guitar that you really, what age did you really want a guitar? Probably real little, but do you remember your very first guitar that you got?
I do. It was one of these off-the-wall brands or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but I had it, and the strings were like this far up off the neck, and I was wondering why some of my other guys, we took lessons from Mr. Henry Campbell back when we were kids, and I was wondering why they could do this, and I was having a hard time. But really, it turned out to be a blessing because it strengthened my hands at 9 years old. So I got to where I could do it. And when we were playing shows, I didn't play that guitar. I played Mr. Campbell's Gibson J50, which is like driving a Cadillac, you know.
Oh yeah. Now did you get calluses on your hands when you first started? Did it?
They got them now, yeah.
Now, just to tell some folks that's just starting out playing, what are some advice that you would give them, especially because I know some that play, they said, oh, it's killing my fingers. It just got to get tough, right?
Just got to toughen up. I mean, it happens to everybody. I mean, you know, I don't care who you are. You're not used to your fingertips being touching metal and pressing really hard, really, really hard.
Right.
You know, and I stress that when I have students, I don't have any students right now, but when I do have them, I said, you got to press that really, really hard. And, you know, if they cry about it a little bit, you know, I tell the parents or whatever, I said, get them some new skin and cover the fingertips with that. Let it dry really good because it'll mess your strings up if you don't. And that'll help. But there's no getting around the callus. If you don't have the callus, then you can't play.
Now, I know that my brother-in-law was telling me this. And by the way, you can want to ask a question for Freddie. You can call in 864-441-9382. He'd be glad to ask your questions.
I'll try.
He can answer them good. My brother, Steve Lemons was talking about, he remembered this. I think you scarred him, Freddie. I really do, because he's talking about one Christmas he came, he's showing the guitar that he got. And I think it was probably one of them that had them little nylon strings, you know, had the play ones like that.
Right.
And he says, and Freddie looked at me and says, they ain't a real guitar.
I probably did that, you know.
Well, I think it's he laughs about it now, but I'm just going to tell you, it scars him now, and he hadn't been the same since.
Well, you know, if my recollection is correct, Aunt May,
Right.
you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. She played also.
Right.
Did you know that?
I did.
She played guitar. Well, they had this guitar that was really unique to me. It wasn't a big, expensive Gibson or Martin or nothing like that. It was just a cool guitar, and it was blue.
Right.
Okay. Then, way later in my life, I was talking to Steve, and somehow or another, he brought out the guitar had been around the block. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who all got it, who had it, whatever.
I think
So he
Scott
said,
had it at one time.
do you remember this guitar?
I do. I sure do.
I
Yes.
said, I remember this guitar as a little kid, and I loved that guitar. So take the scar away from that old guitar, and his mother's guitar, that blue one, I don't know what it was, but it played good, and it sounded good, and I liked it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
and I think he has it to this day.
He does. He does have it. And now, what was your first show that you went as a child? And was you scared? If you can remember.
Well, a little bit. You know, I was 9 years old, and Mr. Campbell, our guru and guitar teacher, and put us on all these shows and stuff. You know, some of them was Arthur Smith, some Bob Ledford, Farmer Gray, you know, all that. You know, we're just little kids. I mean, what else am I going to do but go play? But yeah, you first get out there, I'm just going to use for an example, Buffalo School Cafeteria, which is a very little small place. But when you're 9 years old, it looks huge.
Huge.
Especially when it's packed with people. And Mr. Campbell said, don't look at them. Look just over the tops of their head. And they'll think you're looking at them. And so I did that. I did that for a while. And then I wanted to make eye contact after a few shows. I got into it.
Well, I know it's easy for me to talk. I can talk in front of 100 or 1,000 people, and it doesn't bother me. But you get to like 10 people like that, you're really getting one-on-one there, and it's a little bit more intimidating.
Absolutely.
I think it is.
The smaller the crowd, the more intimidating it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is, because it's like that you got to play for that individual. You got to talk to that individual like that, and you're looking at expressions even on their faces, and to see, well, is this going right? Is this going wrong, or what?
And then, you know, in my experience later on, you know, you playing a show or whatever, and you kind of been around a little bit. You might be 13 or 14 by then, you know, and
Right.
then you'll kind of want to make eye contact with a person. You pick one or two out, you know, in the first or second row that's apparently paying attention. You want to make eye contact with them. I'm going to sing to you. I'm going to play for you. And everybody else is going to get hip to it, I hope. You know?
Right, right. And sometimes I think, and if I'm doing anything, and I'll ask you this too, is that you'll pick one that maybe one in the crowd that's really a person that people watch and lead, and he said, well, that guy right there or that woman right there, she's an influencer, is what I'll say.
Right.
And so you kind of sometimes target the influencers because they'll get the crowd going.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, now your dad, I.G. Vanderford, now he used to sing in a quartet.
Right, with his brother Marvin.
Yes, and because I've heard him sing, and I'm trying to think if he sung for us one time. I think he did. I know it was karaoke. I think it was. He didn't like karaoke, but I know singing. And did you ever sing with them or?
Oh yeah, We've sang at the Buffalo Methodist. We sang at several other places. One thing that I'm really thankful I got to do, you know, my son Derek, he plays and sings, you know, as well as the wrestling and everything. But he plays and sings. And one time at Buffalo Methodist, I don't know how it came about, but it was my dad, myself, and my son. And we all three sang together, 3 generations. So that was a special moment for me.
Well,
at the church.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, 3 generations there singing. Now, you mentioned your grandpa, and did you sing with him or?
No, he wasn't much of a singer. He played harmonica, and you know, I tried to pick up what I could from him, and then later on, say when I got to high school, like I said, I'd been playing shows since I was 9 years old, but I got to, you know, messing with the harmonica a little bit more. I wanted to play blues. I didn't want, at that point in time, I didn't really want to do the John Henry, and which I do now, but I didn't want to do a lot of the songs like that. You know, I wanted that bluesy sound,
Right.
which he didn't do that. He didn't bend notes or anything like that. But I enjoyed him playing for me. So anyway, when I got to high school, I got hip to the blues radio and stuff like that. Little Walter, Sonny Boy Williamson, people like that, and I could play a little bit of that style. And then in the 10th grade, I met Peg Leg Sam, the old Medicine Show blues, straight up blues player. You know,
Okay.
I met him and hung out with him.
We'll come back to that right there. Now, I want to go back to your grandfather again. Did he ever come to any of your shows?
No, he had done passed on.
Passed on
I mean,
then?
he wasn't physically able to come to shows, and he didn't do all that.
I bet he was really proud to see you pick up that harmonica and kind of mess with it a little bit.
Well, you know, the sad part is he never got to see me. I'd give anything I got if he could see what I can do now.
Right.
But he never got to see that side. He saw me play guitar and sing, and my grandmother, and I'd play songs for them and stuff like that, but
Right.
never the harmonica.
Wow. Now, what got you into the? I know you said you like to play with your grandfather's harmonica like that, but what really got you into from the guitar? I know you still play the guitar and play, but you really are awesome on the harmonicas. You got a lot of different harmonicas, which is to me when I was growing up, I only had one. I didn't even know what a key was. I just kind of blew it, you know.
Right.
And but you got to be really skilled on what keys that you're playing. Isn't each harmonica got a different key or?
Yeah, and one thing about it, there's several different ways of playing the harmonica. Now, instead of playing first position, all right, this harmonica right here is tuned in the key of A, as you can see.
Okay.
That's an A harmonica. Okay. If I were going to play something in the key of A, it would sound something like this. And I can go up right here and do the same thing. But see, when I'm playing an A harmonica, I play cross harp, which takes me to the 4 chord, which will bring you to the key of E. A harmonica, key of E. All right, and it will sound something like this. Instead of see the difference there?
Oh yeah, I could only get one sound out of it.
So you can get more soul and whatnot playing that way, and that's what I choose to do. I mean, I can play it the other way, but that's the way I like to play it.
Well, that's man, I never got that out of that harmonica, and we're gonna come back and get into more of your music here in just a second. But we're gonna come right back in just a moment. You're listening to Freddie Vanderford. He is a great musician, and we're going to talk about his Hall of Fame, as he's in South Carolina Hall of Fame, and a lot of the other places he's played at. It's really intriguing to me that he's and all the stars that you've met over the years. So we're going to be right back in just a few moments. We're going to go back to a commercial here and put your little keys there. So stay tuned, and we're going to be listening to a little bit more of Freddie and how he songwriter. He's does a lot of great things here, and might even pick his brain in about his wrestling a little bit. But not that. He don't wrestle. He just watches. Pat Quinn's passion for radio goes back to when he was 6 years old and had his first field trip to the radio station. It was Christmas time. Mr. Osborne at WBCU went around the room asking each child what they wanted for Christmas and what they wanted to do when they grew up. I told him, I think I want a football. And when I grow up, I want to come back here and work for you at this radio station. It happened around the age of 13. Pat Quinn started hanging out at the station, and by the time he was 14, he was becoming a board operator. It's been a fun journey, and I owe it all to that radio station giving me my start as a kid, WBCU. Pat Quinn had worked in radio stations all over the Southeast. It seemed from being an old air personality to becoming a general manager, even owned his own internet station. Pat Quinn now has a set of 4 syndicated shows that air over 100 stations and heard in over 186 countries. Happy 50th anniversary in radio, Pat Quinn.
I love beach music, 'cause I...
Coming back on.
Case
Yeah.
with more.
All right, we're back with Freddie again, and hope you're enjoying the show. And if you can also give him a call here if you want to, it's 864-441-9382. Now, Freddie just practiced a little bit there on. He's telling him a little bit more about the harmonicas, and he's got a belt he carries the whole thing in. Now, Freddie, when you first performed the harmonica, did you just spring it on people, or because they're used to you playing the guitar and things like that, and here you come up and you whip out a harmonica? You remember the first song and stuff that you learned on that?
I don't exactly remember the first song, but I remember the location. I was at the cafeteria of Union High School, the old high school, because I'm old, and older, I should say. But anyway, they had a study hall in there, and I had a study hall, and I'd go in there and I'd drag out the harmonica just to kill some time, and I'd mess with it, and then people, give me a hard time, stuff like that. And then it got to where they didn't give me a hard time. They wanted me to play. They asked me to play some, So I felt like I'd done good, If you get your high school peers, which is going to give you a hard time about anything, and they ask you to bust out the harmonica and start playing. So I feel like you're doing good when you do that.
When they asked you to play, yes, you're doing great like that. And
because used to they didn't want me to play. They said, oh man, all that.
Well, it probably, back then there's a different style of music that people were listening to. Growing up, I know, we listened to a little bit of like AC/DC and stuff, and then went to, some country music, and then a lot of the rock and roll music, and it's a little bit different. Now, some of the music that you played was the actual, like you said, the blues.
And I didn't play it that well at that point in time. To be honest, I didn't. That's why I was playing in the study hall, trying to get better.
Okay. Now, when you did you practice a lot? I mean, how many hours do you think that you?
I don't know about the hours, but yeah, I practiced a lot. And see, one good thing about the harmonica, as opposed to the piano or the guitar, I can put one in my pocket. And I used to like to go, right down from where we are right now. There used to be an old bridge instead of this new bridge that we have on the Raleigh Road. Mm-hmm. And I go down there and fish or whatever, be by myself. Go down there, and I'd take my harp and get under the bridge because it sounded really good, the echo and the
acoustics,
ambience of under the bridge. And I played a lot down there by myself, just because I liked the way it sounded. Just recently, I did a thing in Clinton at a very cool place called the Lumberyard. I'll be back there in September sometime. But anyway, it was an old building, and they had a vault. And the lady... This is after the show. The lady took me into the vault, and I just talked, and we talked, and I said, "Oh, I got to do this," and it reminded me of being under the bridge on the Raleigh Road. So I got my harmonica out, and she videoed the thing. For some reason, I don't know, but anyway, I played an old hymn. I played a little something to get into it, and I played "Peace in the Valley." And she's got that on the video and asked me if she could post it. I said, sure. Anything I got that I've done, you're more than welcome to it. And, it brought me back to when I was a little kid playing up under that bridge.
Right. Now, earlier you talked about Peg Leg. Right. And tell people who he is and how did y'all cross paths, and what are some things he taught you? Just talk a little bit about him and
okay. Peg Leg Sam, one of the best, if not the best, one of the best I ever heard in my entire life, and I'm including Sonny Boy Williamson, Little Walter, everybody, and that's a big statement for a harmonica player. It really is. But 10th grade, back to the 10th grade, that was a big year for me, and I think I was on the way to school, and I was listening to the local radio station, the AM station here in town, and I heard this guy singing and playing harmonica, just him and the harmonica, no guitar, no nothing, just that. And I said, whoa, I really like this, And then I searched it out, I'm 16 years old, and I had a driver's license. Didn't have a car, but I had a driver's license.
Didn't have internet back then either, did we?
No, absolutely not. So I found out about this guy, and I asked around, where I could find him. And come to find out, I went to Dan Whitehead's old store out here in West Springs, and some of the old guys out there playing checkers and stuff like that, I said, you ever heard this guy, Peg Jackson, Peg Leg Sam, whatever? Yeah, he lives out here and so-and-so and so-and-so. And I said, okay. So I drove out there. Okay, first of all, he wasn't there. But his brother that lived with him was there, Bill Jackson. Best checker player I ever seen in my whole life.
Did he get you in the game of checkers?
No. I knew better. But Bill said he's not here, but if you come back tonight, he's in wherever playing. He'll be back, and you can come back. I said, it was so dark out there when I went. First of all, I said, well, I don't want to get shot or nothing, out here. I'm looking like I look, out and out of my element. So I went out there again at night, and he was there, and we talked and stuff like that, and he knew I could play, but he would not play for me. He made me play for him first.
Oh, wow.
So I played for him. And
now, were you nervous playing for him after you heard it?
Yeah. Man, what you talking about? I was totally nervous. And then after I played for him for a few times, and like I said, he had one leg, I had a driver's license. So he found out that when I could get access to a car, I could take him to places, easier. And then we became friends. And we played a lot of harmonica and, a lot of other stuff. Lots of stuff. They didn't have running water at their house. So one of my jobs was to go to the neighbor about 50, 100 yards away and fill up buckets of water and bring that, or bring in firewood, stuff like that. So I did a lot of things for him. He did a lot of things for me. So that's what friends do, right?
Right, exactly. Now, how old was he? Versus, I know you said you were around 16 years old. How old was he at that time?
He died in 77. He wasn't but 65.
Oh, okay.
I was living in Nashville at the time, but I felt like I needed to come home for that, and I did.
Oh, yes, definitely. How did he get the name Pedleg? I know that he's missing a leg.
Well, he traveled around and hoboed a lot back in those days, and he lost his leg to a train. I think the train was backing up or whatever, and he was getting on or getting off or something like that, and it crushed his leg. So they took a fence post after he got it healed up, and they took a fence post and made a wooden peg, and they put that on him, and he kept running. Well, he could dance with that peg leg.
Wow.
He could do lots of stuff. There's a video out there, Davenport Films, black and white video, and the hat that he's got on in that film and on a lot of his pictures and stuff like that, I got it hanging on my wall right now. Now, I loaned it to McKissick Museum. I didn't give it to him. I gave him a couple of my harmonicas and whatnot. But I just put a loan on the harp, on the hat, Peg's hat, and it's back on my wall right now.
Oh, that is fantastic, man. That's what a legacy and a memory too.
Absolutely.
What was the first song he taught you, or what was one of the best advice that he gave you can remember?
I don't know. It was not formal harmonica lessons or music lessons or anything like that. We just sit around and play like you and I are sitting at this kitchen table. We'd sit there in a place that had no running water and, stuff like that, and wood fire, that kind of thing. And we just sit around and play, sing and talk junk, stuff like that,
Now, did he, apparently, like I said, he didn't teach music or anything like that. He just loved the music, and it was in his soul.
Well, he saw I could play a little bit, that's why he made me play first. He saw that I knew a little bit about the blues, and I could play some blues and stuff like that. And, he kind of got friendlier with me after he found out I had already done my homework and I could already play before I went to meet him.
Right.
So that meant something to him.
He probably seen the love that you have for that music, that type of music, because you really got to love it and get into it. Now, did he? I just envision him playing the music and singing and just making up words and.
Well, he did a lot of that. He did a lot of that, but he did stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm just using it for an example. If he heard, say, a Ray Charles song, he'd figure out a way to play that and sing that with just him and the harmonica. And sometimes he'd have a guitar player or whatever. But a lot of the times I go out there on Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and like I said, I had the car, so we would go out to this liquor still place, this guy, and I'm the only guy like me that was there, and we'd sit around this big old table outside. He'd play, I'd play, we'd sing, whatnot, and somebody would go get a little bottle, and wherever it came from, I don't know, and they'd bring it back and take a little sip here and there, and that was how I spent my Saturday and Sunday afternoons a lot of time, doing that. And then when, I'm not going to call the name because he's probably got relatives listening right now, and some of them, I know I know one of them's grandson right now. We're friends right now, and that we all sat around and played and sang and talked junk and just have a good time, stuff like that on Saturdays and Sundays. And I learned a lot. I mean, a whole lot doing that.
Well, and you learn by experience and experience from others.
Right.
And you're not going to learn it unless you really want it and you're really into it. And I've heard you play. I've got, matter of fact, still got CD of Greasy Greens and some other things too. So we'll also have links on there where people can buy your music and where they can go get that from. And where some of the places you're playing at. But we're going to come back right after this in a moment.
Could I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Stan Getz, the great sax player, he said, you can read all the textbooks and listen to all the records, but you're not going to get better till you play with people better than you.
You know, that's a good point. All right, you're listening to Freddie Vanderford, and you're going to hear some more about him and about some of the music that he has written. And it is hearing about these stories, to me, I just can imagine a lot about Peg Leg, and to me, that's just, that's a movie in itself to me. And so stay tuned and come back. We'll be talking to Freddie Vanderford a little bit more about his music and where he gets some ideas on some of the music that he has written. Pat Quinn's passion for radio goes back to when he was 6 years old and had his first field trip to the radio station. It was Christmas time. Mr. Osborne at WBCU went around the room asking each child what they wanted for Christmas and what they wanted to do when they grew up. I told him, I think I want a football. And when I grow up, I want to come back here and work for you at this radio station. It happened around the age of 13. Pat Quinn started hanging out at the station, and by the time he was 14, he was becoming a board operator. It's been a fun journey, and I owe it all to that radio station giving me my start as a kid, WBCU. Pat Quinn has worked in radio stations all over the Southeast. It seemed from being an old air personality to becoming a general manager, even own his own internet station. Pat Quinn now has a set of 4 syndicated shows that air over 100 stations and heard in over 186 countries. Happy 50th anniversary in radio, Pat Quinn.
I love beach music, 'cause
Okay, we're coming back. I'm Jerry McKee with Primetime. We got Freddie Vanderford here with us, and we've been talking about his music and his journey in the earlier phases of his music. And Freddie, there's one music that we was talking about just now that our whole family talks about a lot, and especially if someone's cooking some greens.
Right.
And also another thing too, we always talk about my baby loves salad.
Cook good salad. Oh, yeah.
And you know, years ought to be burned in, because I just wonder how many more people, because we talk about this, I wonder how many more people that that know you and heard these songs like that bring this up, just all of a sudden, it depends on what, if they're sitting down eating or something like that, and just use some of the words. Tell us about, is it Greasy Greens?
Greasy Greens, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. You was telling me about 2 different artists, and Peg Leg claims this, and then the other one claims this, and
Right.
and you just make it your own. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, it's just a wonderful song, and the good thing is, or one of the good things, I get a lot of airplay around Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's for Greasy Greens, as well as Cook Good Salad.
Yeah.
And, you know, say I'm in Minneapolis. Okay, you have to explain to those folks, when I'm talking about Cook Good Salad, I'm not talking about something you put salad dressing on. I'm talking about something like mustard greens, turnip greens, collard greens you could cook up with a ham hock and stuff like that. We're not talking about a salad that you put tomatoes and salad dressing on. We're not talking about that at all. I have to smarten them up on that.
Well, it's you got to try to clear that up, because a lot of people up north, they have never had the experience
know.
of eating some of this stuff,
That's right.
like grits.
Absolutely.
Now, do you have a song got grits in it?
Uh,
Seemed like I heard you sing one that said something about grits. I don't know. It might have just been a little into it.
I think I did a thing for a little documentary that something about grits and, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, it's not significant to, you know, I don't remember it. You know, I just did a.
Right. Tell me about some of the people that you have met, some stars, musicians
Oh,
that's
man.
way up there. Which one was a more influencer to you? I know Peg Leg was there, but some that you've met along the way. Tell me about some of those people.
Well, I know when I was in high school, really getting my feet wet in the blues, I liked John Mayall, the British guy, a lot. And finally, back in 1999, I got to do a show with John, and he was a super nice guy. And he signed my Blues Breaker album. That was his band back then. The first time Eric Clapton ever sang on a recording he was in John Mayall's band.
Wow.
And so John signed that for me. We got pictures and all that. He was a super nice guy. I mean, great guy. And, I've played with so many, Hank Jr., Billy Bob Thornton. I could go on and on. Buddy Guy, Taj Mahal. I mean, lots of great guys that, influenced me. And,
Well, I know it's an honor for you, to play with some big guys like that.
Leon Russell.
And they know that how good you are, and to get to play with these bands, because they just don't let anybody sit in with theirs.
Well, I was really the support act for most of them. I have played with Hank Jr., but we'd like the opening act pretty much,
Right.
and then you hang out and all that kind of stuff,
But still, yeah, that's great. I mean, and I've got to meet some people that like Loretta Lynn, Charlie Daniels, and a few like that, just by interviewing is it.
Right.
But they wouldn't want me to sing or play in their band, because I can't sing or play in the band, either one. But,
don't let that stop you.
no, too old to start now. It's too old for me. What are some of the shows that you've been on? You mentioned in the earlier stages that you was it Art Linkletter or
No.
not Art Linkletter.
Yeah, back when I was a kid, you had 3 TV shows you could get, and one was Farmer Gray. That was on WSPA. That came on at noon on Saturday, and then Saturday night you had Bob Ledford's show out of Asheville. We thought we'd really done something when we got to go to Asheville, and Bob Ledford's show was like 7 p.m. And that was 2 of my favorite things. I did several of those shows, and you go back to school on Monday or whatever, and people say, "Saw you on TV," stuff like that, and you say, "Yeah, this is what I want to do."
That's pretty cool to be seen on TV, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, when you're a little kid, especially.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It ain't big of a deal anymore, but
and everybody's got cameras, including me. We all got cameras.
You had three TV stations. You could get Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 13.
All right,
That was it.
And that's if you and you can get some other channels if you take them rabbit ears with the aluminum foil on it,
Right.
to turn them. Yes, but they had good shows. They're supposed to be doing some kind of I think it's a documentary or something like that about Ed Sullivan coming up. That's some of the shows that he had on there, and someone asked him, and I remember this, says, you think some of these bands that the Ed Sullivan show either can make them or break them? They said, definitely. And
Well, you go back to the Beatles,
that's right. And I was actually listening to the Beatles, one of the first ones they were playing, and this just the other night, and I'm thinking, they wasn't that good starting out like it. I mean, they just had the long hair that brought into
They had the gimmick and some decent songs. And
Yeah.
just to say this don't mean anything, but like I say, I was doing shows when I was 9 years old. I was playing shows already when the Beatles came to this country. That's how old I am.
Yeah. Well, I'm not right there with you, so. Now, Freddie, how many songs have you written?
Oh, I don't know. Some of them you'll never hear. I didn't like them. Some of them I didn't record or anything like that. But I did Trouble Come Knocking. That's one of my favorite ones that I did. And Don't Let Your Mouth Write a Check That Your Butt Can't Cash. That was I got a lot of airplay on that one. And let's see.
So later on in years and years, it goes on by like that, someone will say, hey, here's the lost writings of Freddie Vanderford's song.
They'll never see that.
They'll never see it?
Nope.
Have you got them hid that well?
I do. I do. And some of them, when I'm feeling extra creative, I'll drag some of those things out and I'll look them over again. I said, can I do something with this? And usually I might write a line or two and I said, nah.
Yeah. Now, when you, I know you write the words to it like that. How's the music come to your head with that? Does it come during your writing that you're thinking, well, I'll play this and this right here, or do you just write the words and then just start feeling the music with it?
It all comes together with me. It all comes at the same time. I get the melody and start messing with the lyrics, you know. So I guess, you know, to be honest, the melody, the lick kind of comes first, but not entirely. You know, I got to make the lyrics fit with that melody or the melody fit with those lyrics, you know. And so I'm going to say, in my case, a lot of people, you know, they do, you know, the lyrics or the, you know, the melody first, you know, one or the other. But in my case, it all pretty much comes at the same time.
So and I've heard people, and I've heard songwriters say, you know, I was on the jet, or I was on the airplane, or I was traveling in my bus, going from this point to A, point B, and I happened to just scribble this song out and write it down like that. Mm-hmm. Have you had this same experience?
Oh, yeah. Lots of times. In fact, at my house right now, if I have to get up in the middle of the night, restroom or whatever, you know, I got a pad and a pencil on the coffee table. So I have been known, not a lot lately, but in the past, get up and write down a line that's in my head and go back to bed.
Wow.
And then get up and look at it the next day and see if there's anything there.
Yeah. So it's almost like it came to you in a vision or someone you got up, or
Right.
maybe a dream like this. I need to write. That's like people tell you, if you have these dreams, you know, you need to write them down to see what, you know, see what they come to pass like that. So you being an artist and music is your life. I mean, it's every day. You don't, you really don't take off from music, do you?
No. And like I said, you go to my house right now, at this point in time, right now, on my coffee table, there's a pen and a pad. Not just for that. I mean, I'm not going to write grocery stuff down or something like that, but I can write it down if I have to get up in the middle of the night or whatever. I can write it down and go back to bed. Worry about it the next day.
Now, you was talking to me earlier about a place, Sassafras Mountain. Was that?
Oh, yeah, that's a wonderful place.
That you go there, and when you're having to perform there, but you also go ahead of time to go to this beautiful place and just play for yourself. What does that do for you as far as getting you ready for a performance?
It recharges my battery. I mean, and you can look out there and, you know, and see what God's made, you know, and you have a gift, you know, and so I feel like I can look at all this and I can play a little something, and it recharges me. I've played on top of the Empire State Building, but it's not the same, you know. But I like Sassafras Mountain, the highest peak in this state, and I really like it a lot to just to get up there, and hopefully there's no people there. But if there's a handful of people, you know, I'll still play. It's for me.
Right.
It's for me only, you know.
Well, I know that you've played in a lot of churches and unfortunately a lot of funerals because of that beautiful harmonica sound and the spiritualness that you put into it. Because I know you've played at our church before, and they just loved it because they feel the music coming through you, and when you're playing spiritually, just like you're describing the mountain, you feel the Spirit of God. You feel that Spirit moving you and playing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And that just really makes it come out even more, doesn't it?
What is it the old blues guys say? You know, if you don't feel something here, you got a hole in your soul.
Exactly. Yes. And the some of the places that you play, a lot of people can just come there, and a lot of people think, well, he does all these places like that, and the riches that these bigger artists sometimes have, the millions and millions like that. But if you play music for the money, it's just not going to work, is it?
No, if that's your whole thing about it, I mean, you got to, if this is what you do as your regular vocation, you got to make a little bit,
Exactly,
But if you learn music so you can make money, you're missing the boat.
Yeah.
You got to learn it. You got to live it. You got to feel it for yourself. What's in your heart.
Right, and you had that love at an early age.
I did,
and
I still have it.
And still have it at your early age right now.
Yeah, right.
Well, we're still young at heart, and
absolutely,
our bodies tells us no, you're not, but our mind says, hey, we still good as well when we was 9 years old, 10 years
absolutely,
old.
Man.
And now you have some musicians that go with you sometimes to play with you and stuff. If you want.
I got some great guys that play with me. Brandon Turner's been with me 25 years, since '99. That John Mayall show that I was talking about earlier, that was his first gig with me. We didn't do a restaurant. We didn't do a bar. We didn't do anything like that. We went straight from our little practice place straight to the big stage with John Mayall. First gig for him.
Wow.
1999. Yeah.
He
was 19 years old.
Wow. He plays great. I've heard y'all both play together. He does like that. And you also had Faye Sue?
Faye Sue, yeah. She's a wonderful friend of mine. Just talked to her yesterday by the way of the internet and all that, So
right.
Wonderful person. She played with Emmy Lou on a bunch of those gold records and stuff like that back in the 70s. Wonderful person, beautiful person.
Emma Lou Harris.
Right.
Yeah, and she sang with them, and she sang with Lost Stars in the background, and of course her own forefront.
Right.
And she's a beautiful singer, beautiful lady, and
a wonderful person.
Yes. So you've had the privilege to have these the artists around you to say. I know you probably call upon them and say, hey. Let's go do this over here, or can you do this right here? And it seems like they enjoy playing with you.
Well, I appreciate it. I enjoy playing with them, that's for sure.
Well, it's, people don't understand that when you're playing together and you're playing with, you've got to have that connection.
Right.
You can't just say, well, I'm going to outplay him, or this person's going to outplay him.
No.
It's got to do a blend, doesn't it?
That's right. That's absolutely, and you're playing with people that know what's going on, that can play, and I want to make them sound as good as I can,
right?
And they want to make me sound as good as they can, and that's when you got it together.
Exactly. You can't one try to outplay the other because it doesn't work.
It does not work.
And I've heard it, and you've heard it too, where you see some new bands get up and one trying to showcase the other like that.
No,
it just doesn't work. Well, we're going to be right back. This is Freddie Vanderford talking to. We're going to end up here with talking about a few more things here before we close out. Freddie's going to tell us where he's going to be going, where you'll be able to go out and hear him, and some of the places that he's been. He's been in a lot of places. We'll be back right after these messages. Pat Quinn's passion for radio goes back to when he was 6 years old and had his first field trip to the radio station. It was Christmas time. Mr. Osborne at WBCU went around the room asking each child what they wanted for Christmas and what they wanted to do when they grew up. I told him, I think I want a football. And when I grow up, I want to come back here and work for you at this radio station. It happened around the age of 13. Pat Quinn started hanging out at the station, and by the time he was 14, he was becoming a board operator. It's been a fun journey, and I owe it all to that radio station giving me my start as a kid, WBCU. Pat Quinn had worked in radio stations all over the Southeast. It seemed from being an old air personality to becoming a general manager, even owned his own internet station. Pat Quinn now has a set of 4 syndicated shows that air over 100 stations and heard in over 186 countries. Happy 50th anniversary in radio, Pat Quinn.
I love beach music, 'cause
All right, we're back. I'm Jeremy McKee with Prime Time, and you are listening to Freddie Vanderford, and we're going to ask Freddie to play us something from his harmonicas there, and I want him to show you first. Show him this belt here that's got all these harmonicas in there, and each one of them is a significant in his music. You know, that just looks like, and you know, Freddie, I got to mention this on one of your pictures there, and I think it's even on the album cover, is that when you're holding all these harmonicas in your hands like that,
Right.
it kind of reminds me of Edward Scissorhands.
Right. John Holloway out of Greenwood, he did that. I'll be playing in Greenwood for that festival coming up. I think my part is on July 7th.
Okay, and if you how can they find out where your schedule's at? Do you have
Just
it listed?
Look me up on Facebook.
Right, look Freddie up on Facebook, or you can ask me, and I'll get to him, and we'll find out where he's at and where he's playing at. We'll list some things. Freddie, you want to play us something?
Sure. Children, go where I send thee. How shall I send thee? I'm going to send thee one by one. One for the little bitty baby born of the Virgin Mary, who's born in Bethlehem. Now, children, go where I send thee. How shall I send thee? I'm going to send thee two by two. Two for Paul and Silas. One for the little bitty baby born of the Virgin Mary, who's born in Bethlehem. Now, children, go where I send thee. How shall I send thee? I'm going to send thee three by three. Three for the Hebrew children, two for Paul and Silas, one for the little bitty baby born of the Virgin Mary, who's born in Bethlehem. Now, children, go where I send thee. How shall I send thee? I'm going to send thee four by four. Four for the four that stood at the door. Three for the Hebrew children. Two for Paul and Silas. One for the little bitty baby born of the Virgin Mary, who's born in Bethlehem. Now, children, go where I send thee. How shall I send thee? I'm going to send thee five by five. Five for the gospel preachers. Four for the four that stood at the door. Three for the Hebrew children. Two for Paul and Silas. One for the little bitty baby born of the Virgin Mary, who's born in Bethlehem. Yes, he was born in Bethlehem.
All right. I guess I'll put some of the microphone up here. I'll tell you what, Freddie, that was great.
I usually do 8, but I stopped at 5 because of time restraints.
That's all right. I'll tell you what, that's great.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. What you heard live here was Freddie Vanderford playing, and I tell you what, we're going to put some links down where he's going to be at, and you can go see him. He plays all around the cities, from Greenwood to Nashville to all over the place, and just never know where he's going to show up and who he's going to be with. And Freddie, what is some advice that you can give someone that's wanting to? I know you used to teach some classes on playing the guitar. Did you teach any classes on the harmonica? Or
I do. I don't have any students right now, but I will do that. Yes.
Right. And now you used to do it like. Now, what was some
vocals too?
What was some of the advice that you gave some of your students when they come?
Best advice I could give them: keep playing.
Be consistent.
Keep playing. Right.
Yeah. And that's one thing that you've been consistent in your playing.
Right.
Now I've known you for going on 30 years, and you just go all the time. And
I try.
it's every week. And I don't think you've slowed down in either.
No, I haven't. And well, another thing I tell them, you know, from the start, I say, look, here it is. I know your mom and daddy probably want you to play, but you got to want to play. And understand this, we're on a journey that we will never, ever reach the destination.
Yeah.
I've not reached it, and I've been doing it 60 years.
You hadn't reached it yet?
No.
One day
I don't want to reach it. I want to keep learning, trying to get better. I always try to get better.
And you do. Just by your music, and we'll have people also. We'll put a link in there where they can contact you to buy your CDs.
All right.
I think you can get them on Amazon.
I think it's still on Amazon, but if nothing else, they can just hit me up on Facebook and I'll mail it to them. Old school.
Old school way. That's right. See, it's nothing better than the old school way, and that's true. Well, Freddie, we really appreciate you coming and everything, and taking time out of your time to do this right here, because you just got through playing a Juneteenth festival
Right.
Here in Union, and people don't realize that you at these events, a lot of times that it's your time and talent, and because you do give back to the community. Now, this is your people realize that this is your livelihood. This is what you do. This is your. It's like I go to work. This is your work.
Right.
And when you go to work, you got to be perfection at it, and which you have been. And so when they come out to these events, all they got to do is look at them billboards. And I didn't know he was playing until I happened to look at the billboard. I said, "Wow, there's Freddie."
Yep. There you go.
And now, do you eat greens?
I do. I love them. I love them. Got some in the fridge right now.
Now, when you talk about your baby likes salad, is that a girl in your life or something that you kind of put that with, or is
She can
it?
cook good salad. She can cook good turnip greens. The way she cook them can't be beat. Put a ham bone in them, and she season sweet.
Well, you got to have a ham bone in there, don't you?
Got to have that.
Well, that's a different song. There used to be a song out called Ham Bone, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. What was one of Peg Leg Sam's favorite song he liked to sing?
Greasy greens.
Greasy Greens?
That was his fave. Yeah.
And I guess that's where you picked it up. And
But the way he did it and the way I did it is similar. But you know, I put a guitar and different things. I did a little. You got to make it your own. You know, whatever it is, you got to make it yours.
right, because it's I watched American Idol, and I watched some of them America's Got Talent, stuff like that, and that's one thing that they tell them when they get up there and sing. They got one artist gets up there and he tries to mock another one,
Right.
and
Not good.
it's not good. And they said you got to make it your own. And I've seen some of them artists, and I use a lot of cover music because of copyright issues and some of the things. And I hear some of this cover music that, man, it sounds a lot better than the original artist even.
Right.
Especially because of the way that they did it.
It's just like the great Johnny Cash. I mean, you know, he was as well as a great singer, he was a great writer too.
Yes.
But he did stuff like that 9 Inch Nails song, you know, Hurt and all that. He made it his.
Yeah.
You know, Waylon, that's another story for another time, but he was nice to me when I lived in Nashville. Waylon Jennings was very nice to me. And real quick, had a buddy and, you know, introduced me to Waylon. We were sitting out there. I had a beer with him in his car, his beer, Black Lincoln. This is probably 77, 78, something like that. And he said, he was talking to the guy that grew up with him in Littlefield, Texas. And he looked at me and said, "What are you doing tonight?" I said, "Not a whole lot." He said, "Well, if I give you some tickets, would you drive him and come to my show in Murfreesboro, 30 miles away?" I said, "Yeah, I can do that." And when I got there, it was Waylon and Johnny Cash. No, I did not get to meet Johnny Cash. I wish I could say I did, but I didn't. But Waylon, I got to see Johnny Cash for free because Waylon was a cool guy.
Wow. What a story. So you got stories like this that, just people just would dream about.
They just come to me.
Yeah, but that's some great stories.
Waylon was a great person.
Yeah.
Great person.
And I hope you're writing these things down for your grandchild, sweet little child coming up, and for her to look back.
Little
and
Jenny.
That's my papa right there. That's and even Derek looking back, and when we pass this world, we want our children to look back and be proud, and I know they're proud of you and your accomplishment, but you need to write down some of these stories to where they can have it for years on down the road.
You're right. I need to do that.
So,
I do.
well, Freddie, I appreciate you coming and spending time with us. And I'm Jerry McKee, and I'm glad y'all watching Prime Time. And watch these links come up, because we're going to tell you where Freddie's going to be at. You can go out and visit, buy some of his CDs, and just tell him that you heard him on the Prime Time. I'm Jerry McKee, and you have a great night, and I hope you have a